All right.
I mean, you should be not sorry about it. Not you
am,
should be sorry.
Right. I am not sorry about it. So stop trying to make me sorry.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. Mm-hmm. Hi, and welcome to the Inner Moxie podcast. The podcast about not one, but two neurodivergent adults trying to live their best life on the neuro D-list and not hate themselves in the process. I'm your host, Ronnie.
And I'm Zanny.
And this week, we will be talking about artificial intelligence.
Terminator. All right, Moxie meter time. How's it?
Moxie meter time. You know what? Past couple of weeks, I know it's been a 3. I'm going with a 4 this week. I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, there's struggles in life, but right now I have it set up where I am on. I do love a good schedule. Mm-hmm. And I've set it up so that I'm on a schedule where I am mostly editing and getting paid for it. And so that's kind of the dream. And editing stuff I believe in and that I like doing. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I mean, still got the move over the hill, but yeah, I'm not gonna let that spoil my better than all right time.
Yeah.
So I'm going with 4. I'm trying to expand on it, but that's it, and that's enough. I think that's good enough. How about you? How's the Zanny Moxie?
Complex.
Ooh.
Number wise.
I thought you were going to say number 1.
No, number 1. I'm basically dead.
Here are all of what I'm feeling at all the different levels.
Well, feeling is the thing. I discovered I have some over the weekend. Yeah, there's a whole thing. But before I get there, let's get to a number because I feel beholden to that.
The people yearn for the number.
They do.
Say
the fucking number.
How are they supposed to know if what you're saying is good or bad without a number to put it into?
True story.
Mm-hmm.
I think overall, I mean, today was a little lower because I'm tired because Ferrati, my cat, was terrorizing the shit out of me last night. So, but like I would say an 8.5 to almost 9 for the week.
Nice.
Show
off.
Today 7.5 only because of I'm tired.
Tired will do it.
Loopy. Yeah. So I went to the Marietta Hot Springs, which were fun, and I got to spend a whole day with my friend Katie and like connect with her and then connect with her husband a little bit and her babies, and it was a great time.
Nice. Were they actual hot springs that you went to, or is that just the name of the location?
Name. I mean, it is a place with a lot of pools. I really thought I was going to something more naturey. It was nice though. Mm-hmm. I would give it a solid 87% out of 100% possible.
That's how percents work.
Well, unless you have a GPA of 4.5, and I don't.
No, that's true.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I discovered a few things. So also over the weekend was my former wedding anniversary, which generally, I mean, I guess it's only been a thing for 4 times where it's passed, right? But it hadn't really like triggered anything previously. And I mean, this time it did a little bit, but like in a good way too, like mostly around the fertility stuff. Like there a lot, all that shit happened in 2020. And I was able to admit to myself that I was upset about that. It's like more than an assumption. I'm very happy with my circumstances.
Right.
But I don't know. I think I probably let myself, or I probably shoved that down a bit because so much was happening and it's hard to feel that.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's not all my story to tell, so I won't tell all of it, but like, one of the, if not the main reason I am an adoptive parent is because of fertility issues. And so, I've been there, not been there, but I've been there through that struggle. I've been very close to that and how that can affect a person. And I would say any feelings that you're feeling about it are completely understandable and earned. It's going to be things that get you a lot of different feelings, a lot of different ways. I'm sure it will pop up again throughout the years, you know?
Sure. You know, like that whole thing, like that was all tied to the cancer. So uterine cancer, super early stage. So the easy solution is, you know, complete hysterectomy, which was so logical, you know, at 36, you know, the if you don't do that and you're really trying to have your own bio kid, you have to do the chemo and the radiation, even in the, you know, since it's even anyway, that's what you have to do. And then you have to be clear of that for a full year before saying, okay, you can try to have a kid. And I was like, best case scenario, I'm 38 and
Right.
haven't come close and haven't done a lot to try to stop it. So it just didn't seem logical or probable that would happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm very good with the choice to go just like cut it all out, get it out. That was great. But I mean, at the time, I mean, it was just a bad time too.
No, that wasn't a blast.
Yeah. I mean, just everything. Like COVID didn't phase me like everybody else seemed to be phased. You know, you mentioned it last week. Like it just didn't hit me like that because, like, I don't know, my life wasn't awesome at the time for many reasons. So yeah, so I think I probably couldn't deal with that, and I definitely could deal with it on a logic level. You know, it makes sense. I had like a 36-hour period where I was like on and off, like my eyes were leaky about it.
And when it originally happened, or
when it originally happened,
okay.
like once I got all that news all in the same conversation. It was a lot to handle. But yeah. Yeah. So some things tied to that, being able to be honest with myself is nice. And I didn't realize I wasn't. It's not like I was trying not to. It's just, you know, taking the opportunity to be vulnerable with me and then other people is important. So that is what I learned, which is why, other than I had a great time with my friends, and then I did some other stuff. I had a really great weekend, but also I feel very restorative, and yeah, I feel good about it. And I feel like probably there's more shit in there that might come out, and I'm not going to force it, but if it comes up, like,
you're not going to dig, but you're not going to push either.
Right. I'm going to take the opportunities, because otherwise I'm just hurting myself.
Yeah.
And I'm removing opportunities for other people to be there for me, which is hard for me.
I don't explain that if you don't mind.
Okay. So actually my old roommate kind of highlighted this for me, because I never would have thought about it. So when I got cancer, like, okay, so he couldn't control that narrative. So he was just like, we're not telling anybody. And I wanted to tell a few people, but I'm also not necessarily like, hey, I have cancer.
Right.
Like that wouldn't have been how I went about it. But you know, down the line, after all the shit went down and stuff, I mean, I used to talk to my roommate all the time. We lived together. She was like, you know, I knew that because his mom told me. And I was just waiting for you to tell me, but he robbed me and other people an opportunity to be of service to you. You know, to help you out, to provide support, you know, which is an abusive tactic, you know, just like pull all the support, you know, do the bare minimum, you know, because I was like, I'm telling my parents, we're telling your parents, we're telling the siblings, like, have to. And then I'll tell who I want to tell. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's quite literally your body and your life.
Yeah. But it was just, that was a lot. All that time.
Right.
Which is not what I'm here trying to say right now. But I mean, yeah. So like it felt good to kind of like purge that a bit and give it the space that it needed.
Right.
And have those moments and not just be like, ugh, I mean, I was like, God, fuck. Like, I'm so sick of this. Like, can I please not have emotions again right now? I don't want to do this. But then I was like, don't do that because you're just gonna, you need to take this opportunity for healing because, bravado and joking are ways that I kind of gloss over that stuff, which, it's not always the time or the place, but
yeah. Well, and also you're allowed to have defense mechanisms. You should be able to have. You should be able to take it on a pace which is healthy for you and that you are comfortable with.
Yeah.
But part of that is recognizing when it's time to actually take it on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, long story short, I didn't know how to have emotions, when to do it. Like, I had never been okay with that. Ever. And a lot of that was like controlled for a while. Like, just a lot goes into that. So I'm just like proud of myself for doing that and taking the chances. It feels really risky to be vulnerable, but I'm not going to help myself if I don't. I've decided so.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, good job.
Thank you.
That was really big.
Thank you. It was fucking huge. And like, I was like, I wrote more than one page in my journal multiple days. This is a lot. And I realized today I also kind of mask in my journal. God, what the, be honest with myself. No one's going to read this. Who has access to this? Nobody.
Yeah.
Farachi doesn't care about this.
Also, only speaks German.
Yeah. German cat variety. So yeah, so that's that.
See, I was just going for Nosferatu the story.
Oh, the things I miss.
To be honest, I could be wrong about that being a German movie.
It is. It is German.
Did you know they got sued for that movie for copyright?
Because it wasn't public domain yet.
No, because they wanted to make a Dracula movie, but Dracula was still had the copyright on it. So like, okay, we'll make this Nosferatu guy. And then the people who owned the copyright to Dracula, I'm not sure if it was Bram Stoker or his estate, was like, you stole our story. I forget where it ended up, but
yeah, that imagery is the best vampire imagery for me.
It's pretty iconic. It is pretty also terrifying, especially for the time. I think we've yet to find much more terrifying imagery of vampires than that. I did have a couple of housekeeping things just before we got started. Last week, I did say I would be shocked if all of the members of MC5 were still alive.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
They are, in fact, all dead.
I thought you were going to say they're all alive.
No, they are, in fact, all dead. And I missed this. Wayne Kramer, the one who I was specifically talking about, he died in February of this year. And that just didn't come across my radar, which I thought was weird just because there were a bunch of sources I followed that would have come up and it just didn't. And then just because it bugged me, I only remember the end of the line, but the full line was, "And the endless search for the great good place was redeemed by the power of a loud electric guitar." And I just love the feel of a loud electric guitar. I don't even remember what context. I don't even remember what context we were talking about it in, but I've always
the M5 one.
Yeah, MC5.
Okay.
Motor City 5. And then we went back and forth on who composed music, even though they were death by vibrations. It was Beethoven.
Yeah.
I know we threw Mozart in there as a maybe, but we were right. We should have trusted our guts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I put my hand on my chest for guts.
Maybe your gut is in your heart.
It feels like it.
I mean, your small intestine's kind of close to that.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I get GERD, it's just like right here.
Oh, God. I don't know what that is, but that reminded me of cows chewing cud, and I want to throw up.
No, GERD is gastroesophageal reflux disease. It's like heartburn.
Okay.
I know. I get pirate sounding diseases sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I also have a housekeeping note.
Oh, by all means.
I said pretty. I mean, I don't think I came off any kind of way, but I said I don't listen to music that's sad to get sad or whatever. But that's not true. I was talking about this today with someone at work, and I brought it up. Forget why, but Las Vegas is that for me.
Las Vegas?
That's the name. Yeah, they're from Glasgow.
Oh.
And yeah, like I think it's just self-titled album. Around 20 years ago, maybe 18. I don't know.
The point is old enough.
Old enough. The reason why, like, I don't know, they hit whatever tones that kind of like resonate that way anyway. And they infuse a lot of like the childhood, like classics, you know, like You Are My Sunshine, you know, shit like that. And that album just really hits like that, you know, like nostalgic and sweet and a little sad, you know, which is probably how sadness is for me. It's never like overwhelming, I'm dying, I'm hopeless. Like, it doesn't feel like that. Even when I was talking about that stuff from before, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel, it just feels like that, like nostalgic. And, I mean, sweet is kind of a weird word for the feeling, but you know, kind of just like, I don't know. And maybe childlike too, because I've been shoving this shit down since I was a toddler, apparently.
I was going to say, actually, there's an old, and this, you know, is a little more specifically towards romantic sadness, but I think it can be applied to all sadness. There's an old Rancid song.
Ruby Soho.
It's on that album.
I know something. What do you know?
It's funny. My 10-year-old sings that song because it's on Fortnite. But it's Good Morning Heartache, and the chorus is Good Morning Heartache. You're like it's called Old Friend. And the chorus is Good Morning Heartache. You're like an old friend. Come and see me again. And that's kind of what I think sadness in a lot of times can be like, of like just an old friend that's kind of always been around and is gone for certain points of your life, but always comes back around. And so there is kind of this familiarity that you grow with and that you get with it. And so it isn't, like you said, it isn't sweet per se, but there is something kind of familiar about when it comes around.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I never would have attributed that to lyrics. You know, not that I wish it could be like that for me, because it's not going to be like that for me. So I'll just do how I do. But it would be nice if I could think deeper about stuff like that sometimes, I think.
I would say this. If you're feeling deeply about just the noise that it makes, that's the better of the two, you know.
Is it? I mean,
yeah, I would
know.
Like the lyric stuff for me is nice because it helps me explain or talk about it to other people. But like, if you can just have, but like the main importance is that something is kind of just sonically there. And I think a lot more times in my life when I needed it, you know, that power of the loud electric guitar, a certain thumping or a certain rhythm or a certain riff was just kind of there for me, you know? And the other stuff's cool because you can talk about it more, but it's hard to just be like, you know, when it's like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, like that. And then you broke out. Yeah. Anyway, so I do that. I just couldn't recall it. So technically I lied, but I believed it, so it wasn't a lie.
Okay. You told a fiction,
my truth.
but not a untruth.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And now we move on. So
Okay.
Today we are going to talk about artificial intelligence, AI, just in general from our own perspectives.
We're talking about like the movie from 2004, right?
Yeah, you got it. Haley Joel is here today. Come on in. Yeah. Yeah.
He's not.
I wish.
He wouldn't return my emails.
Well, how'd you get his email?
He was very. I used to work in the industry. No.
Okay. Forgot they have a registry.
I was gonna say he's also very. He got a little thrown back into things because he was brought for the movie AI in the Kendrick Drake beef. There was a line thrown out about because Drake, for reasons nobody's really understood yet, one of his diss tracks, he wrote a verse that was sang by an AI Tupac, and then another verse that was sang by an AI Snoop Dogg. And then so on the next round, one of the disses was talking about AI, and then he brought up Haley Joel Osment. It was part of, I'm sure, a very clever. I don't remember the line off the top of my head. I just remember he was brought in, and he's like, "Hey, kind of getting a little extra boost."
I'm glad that still just feels nonsensical to me, and I have no business judging that. I just don't get it.
If you want, or I don't know.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to stop saying no right away. Tell me more.
I'm going to throw this out to the audience. There is an amazing YouTube essayist that I like named FD Signifier, and he put out like a 3-hour video breaking down like almost the entire history of hip hop, bringing up into the importance of this beef that just went down. And so if you do actually care, I realize 3 hours is a very large investment.
Yeah, you said that, and I was like...
so it's not for... But I did want to point it out for anybody who's listening and does want to learn more. And I just want to promote FD. It's weird saying I want to promote FD Signifier because he's way more famous than I. I would say, especially if you are looking for really insightful content from a Black creator about various parts of the Black experience or Black culture, specifically music, though lots of other stuff, and also delved into stuff like the Manosphere. I remember we talked about some of his views on the Manosphere, again in another 3-hour long video. But it's good stuff, so I highly recommend it if people want to listen.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to sound dismissive because, like, I understand that my dismissal is an uneducated dismissal. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand.
And it takes a while to get educated.
Yeah, it does. Lots of time. Okay. So, yep, go to that Manosphere. Nope. Signifier.
FD Signifier.
Okay. Do that. And if you're listening, FD Signifier, can you promote us too? That might be nice.
Fantastic.
But let's talk about AI. I mean, I only brought like pros and cons. I didn't have tons of time, which you would think when I took 2 days off, I could have done this, but I was really trying to listen to my feelings.
Well, if in your defense, if you did do this, then you weren't taking 2 days off.
True story.
Well, I guess a good place to start is kind of what our relationship with AI is. So I will say I have a few spots of AI in my life. My kids that I reference, they're actually AI bots. They're not.
You're a liar. I got to get out of here.
They're
Shut it down.
Very real children. I think I mentioned it on the show before. I for extra money, I sometimes do train AI on through a company. But also I use AI. I'd say I've gotten to the point where probably about 25% of the time when I Google stuff, I might switch over to asking ChatGPT instead of Google.
What's the difference?
Essentially, from a user input, you can talk to AI a lot more humanly.
It's not like Ask Jeeves.
I mean, it's kind of it's the idea of Ask Jeeves if Ask Jeeves actually worked.
I still ask Google stuff.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And
Jeeves.
you can still ask Google, and actually Google now is
Gemini.
giving AI answers off the top of the bat.
Mm-hmm.
But so I do use AI. I sometimes work with AI, not at a high level. I wasn't trained for it or anything. I use AI. I have used AI in artistic endeavors before. Just to be fully transparent, I like my other podcast. Its cover art has AI generated elements that I put together in Photoshop to make, because it's like me sitting on a chair in a library and it says, Band Media Podcast. And I was able to get the photographs. My wife's took the photographs of me in the chair, me. And then I used AI to design a chair that I wanted. And then I used AI to make the background, and I composited them all. So I used it as a tool. But even on this podcast, our theme song is not written by AI. That was written by a human. Mm-hmm. But all of our art, I believe, is done by AI, including this bad boy behind me.
Didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Well.
So and also, like, I've played with AI, just creating art for fun, seeing what stuff I could get out of it, and asking it strange questions. I have on more than one occasion gone to AI to like find out who would win in a fight. I play that with AI a lot.
I mean, that's just like statistical probabilities, right?
It is. It seems to be statistical probabilities, but also on some stuff, it doesn't really want to take a side per se. Although you can tell it, be like, okay, like the example I go to is I ask, because this is just like a big, who's your favorite Ninja Turtle type question.
It
that I've had
give a direct answer.
Yeah, well, the specific question I ask it is who would win in a fight between the Borg from Star Trek or the Jedi from Star Wars. I don't know if you're familiar at all with, what a Jedi is.
Yes.
Okay. The Borg is basically this race that assimilates everybody they come across into their collective. And they're like half robot things. And one of the things is because assimilation is what they do, you can only use weapons on them so many times before they figure out and become immune to them. And so I'm going to go way off on this, so I'll curb it now. But like I'd be like, let's say you can change the parameters. So I'd be like, okay, well, who would win? And then the AI would be like, oh, well, both teams are this and that. They both have their strong points. And it's like, well, what if, the Borg became immune to lightsabers? And they're like, well, this and this and this and this. And I could never, I think I got it all the way down. I was pushing for that Borg would win. And I got it all the way down to like, what if there were 1,000 Borg and just one Jedi who was never very good and had COVID? And it's like, things seem bad for that Jedi, but blah, 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 blah. And so like, it is very strange it will not confirm an answer. But I've learned now, like if I had asked it, give me an argument for why the Borg would win against the Jedi. They would have laid out a whole argument for why the Borg would win against the Jedi. And they might have done the disclaiming thing beforehand of like, well, as a chatbot, I can't take a personal side, but this would be a good argument for why.
Okay. Well, I have never asked a question like that to an AI anything. And the I Terminator just comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're almost there. I mean, probably won't happen.
Right.
I can't get that 1% out of my head. But that was fiction. I understand.
A lot of people are legitimately argued about it, and a lot of not stupid people have concerns
Am
about
I
it.
not stupid now?
I think you're a very intelligent person. I mean, well, like I said, a lot of people are worried that the Earth is flat. No intelligent person is worried about the Earth being flat.
True.
They just accept that the Earth is flat and live their lives. No, but yeah, no. There's very intelligent people that are concerned of not Terminator specifically, but some kind of extinction level thing being let out of the box on this.
Yeah. I mean, I've already said this on here like pretty early that Terminator kind of like burrowed into my brain.
That's right.
About the time when I was really afraid that the rapture would happen and I would be left behind.
I mean, those broad stroke storylines aren't incredibly different. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason that Terminator 2 is called Judgment Day, you know?
Yeah, true. I mean, that parallels some of these other points here, but I mean, okay, so like my brain goes to that, but I mean, truthfully, I am concerned that people are no longer going to write anything originally, which I don't really think that, but I think a lot more people are going to use AI and edit versus, when they're creating, papers for school or whatever, there's a lot of that, or, I mean, I don't know, articles of any kind. I don't know. Like one article that I read, I was like, I think a fucking bot wrote this because some of this stuff does not make sense. And some of it is like mixed into categories where it didn't seem to belong to me. Like this one makes sense. I think a human did it, anyway.
Well, you've called it out on the show before. You've been reading some notes and you're like, a human didn't write this. This was AI. This sentence makes no sense.
True. Yeah. So yeah, like that, it's more annoying because I appreciate, writing from scratch. However, I was talking with someone about this today, writing a resume, probably great to start with a bot and then edit it down and, give you somewhere to start where it's not just like random Google searches about the things that you think are great about you.
Right.
Like, so I think that could definitely be an asset there. Honestly, I think it's more good than not, but I've never tried it. I'm afraid. It's not even like I'm afraid, oh, it's an AI. It's more of like, I've never done it before and I don't understand how it works. Therefore, I don't know how to go about starting to try it. It's more of the thing. But on Netflix, I mean, I love a good reality show. And The Circle, the latest season, there is I
don't know what The Circle is.
Oh, man, it's a good one. It is social media, Catfish, and Survivor, and Big Brother all in one.
Ooh.
It's fun.
Like
everyone's in an apartment. No one can see each other. They only interact with each other over social media, and that's controlled also.
Oh, okay.
So it's fascinating. And so this last season, they told them all this, and they put a character, like a person in there that was a bot, like an AI bot. But they didn't tell them who. And they had to guess who. And it was interesting because some of the things in here, like, okay, everybody went to sleep, and the bot studied wherever they go in the internet or whatever. As I said, I don't understand it. Wherever they go to learn stuff, they just continue to learn and absorb things about the game and strategy and things that had happened and things that had happened in like while they were in it. So it was interesting. No one got it. I thought that was a fun thing. But some of the answers were like that. They never gave like a definitive. They never took a side, and they also outlined the logic. So I thought that was fascinating. Didn't really make me want to interact with it. I also have this thing where like customer service, like when they make you do like the automated whatever. So like if you're on the internet, then you're just talking to a bot, and I just go in circles with it. And then I finally just say, talk to a human, because I just I was like, you know what, let me just try this. Invariably though, I just get myself stuck on a loop because I'm trying anyway. So I just get annoyed with the times I've interacted that I've been aware of.
Right.
So that's where I'm trying not to be as negative. I don't know. It's more of just like, okay, this is the way the world is going. So I need to not only make peace, but also make it work for me. And I do think that it can. I just need to try.
Yeah. Well, I like somebody had talked about it in the context of education of like, you know, how are we going to tell if a paper is written by AI or not? And they are developing tools to help determine percentage-wise what are the chances of something written by AI. But the person who was asked the question, and I wish I could remember the woman's name or what she was, but she said, I think that it's going to be a lot. You know, we saw in mathematics, we saw when calculators entered the field. And people were asked the same question. How are we ever going to know if kids are doing their homework or if they've just got a calculator at home? And they're like, well, we're going to have to teach them a different kind of math now, a more advanced type of math, since this is closed down. And we're going to have to find those roots now in, you know, language arts or English or whatever you want to call it, which I thought was a real interesting take. But it is kind of that thing of like, we can sit all day. Is this bad or is this good? It's here. And so we're going to have to adjust in some way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's like the overall message because, we can't stop it. And as soon as it becomes self-aware, we are fucked. But that's 1% chance.
I mean, on nothing. I was going to say, even 1% chance, that would be scary. I don't even think there's that much of 1% chance. But also, too, we have to assume if it becomes self-aware, you know, I don't know. I have no idea, and I couldn't even think of a metrics to base it on. But if it becomes self-aware, that it would want to destroy us in some way. That's just a thing we're giving as an automatic because we grew up with those narratives and those stories. But that's not an automatic.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Terminator just really just took over my brain for a minute, and that is what I think. Thanks a lot,
James Cameron.
Yeah.
Why don't you go back to the bottom of the ocean?
My heart will go on.
Yes.
To the next point. Advantages of AI. Okay, what does this article say? Ooh. This is the most professional non-journal article that I could find. Because I didn't want it to be boring and I didn't want to try too hard. I just ran out of time every day. Okay, so the first one of an advantage. So let's start there. They note it eliminates human error and risk. So what they mean by this is they quote Alexander Pope, "To err is human," the Enlightenment poet. I don't care about the Renaissance a lot. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of things in my life that are due to that. So I am globally grateful, I guess. But it seems like a lot of people had a lot of time to think, only think. And I don't love to read
and throw philosophy. Axes and eat turkey legs.
Okay, were those the enlightened folk?
No, that's just what you do at Ren fairs.
Oh.
Turkey actually is from the Americas, so they would not have had turkey during the Renaissance over in Europe.
Interesting.
Is it?
Sure.
I think it is, but
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, so now it's a fact that got stored.
So now you can go around Ren fairs and slap turkey legs out of people's
I don't
hands.
want to run around a run fair. Actually, I used to like those when we went when I was like little, like fourth or fifth grade with someone, and I really love the idea of immersing. There's a mosquito in here. Of immersing in something like that, whatever it is. And there's something fun about something just so foreign where there's no electronics, no nothing, and it's just like, I don't know, old.
Yeah, I think I've been to a couple of Ren fairs in my time. I think it's cool to be around. I probably won't ever dress up. I'm probably never ever going to say doff. But I will go to Ren fairs. They're fun.
No, I have no interest in
but I like
acting.
Everybody else who's doing it around me.
It's a fun time.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Also, the parking lot of a Ren fair is one of my favorite things ever, because you go to a parking lot and there is all of these people coming off in these Renaissance things that are about to ready to, it's like, all right, we're going to go in there. We're going to be totally of the Renaissance period. So they're like tucking away cell phones in handmade leather couches. So it's just, there's something kind of, it's like being in a little time warp when you're in the parking lot of a Ren fair.
Okay. I mean, time warp, you could use that to describe the whole situation.
Yeah.
But, no, I like that. And anyway, all from Enlightenment poets. So it reduces human error. This could super come in, handy when you're analyzing like payroll data or something like that, where, like getting just like, I don't know, that could be helpful for sure. Yeah.
Well, and too, like I've heard a lot of different ways, like that, a properly trained one, could be better at spotting things on an X-ray than a human could.
Oh yeah, that's in here.
But also, one thing I've learned about working with and using AI is it is very peculiar about what it's good at and what it is confidently bad at, because AI never knows it's wrong. It's unable to lie. So it tells you wrong things with its full chest. And it is weird. Like it is so good at so many complicated things that it can help you with. And it creates stories. You can ask it to create stories. You can ask it to, do all these things. But when we did our episode on King of the Hill, where Bobby had ADHD, King of the Hill, I think, ran something like 9 seasons. I didn't remember where that was. So I asked ChatGPT about it. And it very confidently told me an answer. And then I told you that answer.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to go watch it. I was like, this episode is not it. And then so I asked it again and again and again. And it kept giving me wrong answers, wrong answer after wrong answer, confidently. And then I went to I think maybe YouTube, and just Googled a line from it.
You Googled in YouTube?
I'm sorry. I searched a line from it, or
Google. You've really made yourself a verb.
Or I Googled, or I might have just Googled what episode does Bobby have ADHD, and it came up pretty quickly. And then I was able to update you and be like, hey, don't watch that episode. You can if you want, but this is the actual episode. But that's after I went through and I had a very similar thing. I saw something on TikTok, and turns out it was a clip of LeVar Burton, and
I love him.
He's the greatest.
Mm-hmm. He taught me. Well, he didn't teach me to read, but
yeah,
I loved the Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow, and for me, Star Trek Next Generation.
I remember my parents watched that. I couldn't care about it.
I have also seen Roots. Of course, he's a powerhouse in that.
Yes.
But it was LeVar Burton talking to, I'm totally spacing on Morpheus.
Okay.
Lawrence Fishburne. Lawrence Fishburne. Not Samuel L. Jackson.
Ugh.
I don't know if you've ever seen that clip. There's a guy who asks Samuel L. Jackson about his Super Bowl commercial. Samuel L. Jackson's like, what Super Bowl commercial? And he was thinking about Lawrence Fishburne. And then Samuel L. Jackson lays into him. It's very funny. But it was Lawrence Fishburne and as soon as one name goes in my head, the other one leaves. Geordie LaForge. Who's the guy?
LeVar Burton.
Yeah, LeVar Burton. And they were talking. And it turns out it was from that new TV movie Clipped about the Clippers, I think.
Oh. That's Peacock's trying to get me to watch it.
Yeah. I don't know much about it, obviously, because I didn't recognize the clip. And I was like, I first went to the chatbot and I was like, hey, ChatGPT is the one I use. Mm-hmm. Hey, I just saw a clip with these two actors in it and it had this quote in it. What's this from? And they were like throwing me stuff from like the 70s. And I was like, no, that's clearly not it. I think at one point it did actually say Roots, and I was like, no. And eventually, like after getting so many like obviously wrong answers, I eventually Googled it, and it came up like within the first thing. And so it's very strange what ChatGPT or what, and I'm assuming things are going to have different strengths and different weaknesses, the different AIs, but it's very strange what they are good at and what they're not good at. And what becomes hard is what they're not good at. They never think they're lying. So they say with their full digital chest.
So we're just going to pump the world full of misinformation again. Cause like someone's just gonna be like, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. But also, this isn't so much in defense of AI. Because I do believe you have to back up your work, but you also have to do that with Google. You can get all kinds. By the way, and people who want to go back even further, you have to do that with a fucking encyclopedia if you want to look all of your information up from, Britannica or whatever. You got to double check things. Sources are wrong. So to say, something's not good because it's not perfect, I don't want to go that far. But we're not there yet where everything is trustworthy. You still want to do extra research. But that was actually also one of the things I did training AI was you would ask it questions, and then either you had a pretty intimate knowledge of, or you would have to go out and research of okay, this is what it said. What parts are true? What parts aren't? And if you found stuff that wasn't true, then you would take that and inform it of this part wasn't true, And so, they have people behind the scenes training AI and hopefully getting it better all the time.
Creating jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. I think when they say eliminates human error and risk, maybe this is more of let me see what they said. Repetitive stuff, data entry, stuff like that, where it's harder to mess up. We're not asking it a question. You're this is the function I need you to do.
Right.
Kind of thing, which that does make sense, I think.
Yeah.
As payroll, I mean, it's not going to hurt people physically, but, you fuck up payroll, someone can't eat for a day or something, and that's not great. That's in fact bad.
It is in fact bad.
So yeah, let's see. An example of AI taking risks in place of humans would be robots being used in areas with high radiation. Oh yeah, I did read this. I read this last night. Humans can get seriously sick or die from radiation, but robots would be unaffected. And if a fatal error were to occur, the robot could be built again. True. No Jesusing humans and radiation. You're just dead. Okay. 24/7 availability. So that rung a bell when I was talking about the circle character that was an AI bot. But, if you could do data entry 24 hours a day, not this 8-hour bullshit that we do.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I could see that as a bonus.
I mean, unless you were the person that was entering the data.
No, this AI bot will do it.
Yeah, I know, but then you wouldn't have a job.
I guess you'll find another job. I mean, I don't want to be callous. I just think that like, I don't know that that's an argument that's very strong for me because jobs shift around stuff. So like maybe that specific job will be gone, but another one is available possibly.
Truthfully, I'm in your camp on that. I'm pretty square in your camp, but I think the other side's worth mentioning, which is why I brought it up.
You are correct, sir. Okay. Unbiased decision making. I guess assuming that the data is correct, you know. So humans disagree and allow their biases to leak through all decisions, through their decisions all the time. Humans have biases, and even if we try to solve for them, they sometimes manage to sneak through the cracks.
Yeah, well, and I think too, and this is another thing I've noticed from working with them, because I've had to do stuff about biases, and to its credit, it is working on building these things to be better. So, like for instance, the quest to not be biased between Star Trek and Star Wars led to them giving a ridiculous answer on who would win. When I got down to the nitty gritty of like, okay, so the entirety of the Borg couldn't take out one Jedi with COVID. It couldn't even say that because it was trying to seem unbiased, which at that point is silly. But also, like I know, on the other end of it, there are like different training modules, or different tasks is what we call them. Different tasks where it is trying to get you to teach it the information that is able to be thrown away, that is dangerous. So you would want to have, for example, if something is well established, like slavery is bad, you don't want to be so unbiased. You don't want to both sides of the argument so much that you end up giving relevance to the thought experiment that maybe slavery isn't bad.
I didn't kill it. I'm sorry, you're making a point. I just don't want to get bit by a mosquito because it'll blow up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right, I got sweet blood.
That's what I always say. They get me because I have the diabetes and it's all the sugar in there. Yeah. So like you don't want to both sizing it, and they are working on it. But that also it is very weird because, and I guess that is kind of the AI thing of you're trying to make it, you know, it can make unbiased decisions, but also you're trying to make it more human, and a human thing is to have biases.
Yeah. Like in Terminator, they prefer to eliminate humans.
Yes.
Okay. I feel like I'm getting bit all over. This is psychosomatic. This is not real. Chill the fuck out me. Okay. Let's see. On the other hand, provided that the AI algorithm has been trained using unbiased data sets and tested for programming bias, the program will be able to make decisions without the influence of bias. This can help provide more equity in things like selecting job applications, approving loans, or credit applications. I guess that's a fair point. You know, when it comes to, well, I mean, yes and no, because like, okay, if you're real cuspy on being able to be approved for something, talking to a human, you know, they can be like, you know what, we'll just do it. You know, versus like you are 1 point off, you are denied. So not biased, but like sometimes allowing people to say their piece would be helpful. Right.
Like I think we're both making the same point that it's a balance that we want to strike. But it's weird because we're trying to pull the balance as close to human as possible, but that then does seem to negate the point about human. If the goal of AI is to act like a human in some things, then it a little bit negates the point of being completely unfair and unbiased, or
Yeah.
it's a balancing act.
Yeah. I don't think it's in this article, but like it really depends on the data as well, because like data is biased, like results from studies, like if you're not pulling the actual raw data numbers that anyway, so it exists within the data set sometimes too. And that's a human thing. But okay, I digress. I don't really fully understand what that means, but I think it means shut up. I stop now.
Yes.
I think that's what
I think I back away from.
Yeah. Okay. So repetitive jobs, we kind of already talked about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, I only said analyzing data, I think. But like generating reports, verifying information, stuff like that. It can save humans from boredom. What a quest. And
I mean, I didn't put in who would win between the Borg and the Jedi because I had a lot of things to do at that moment.
I guess so. So it allows humans to save our energy for work that requires more creative energy. That's two energies in one sentence. I'm a little sus here.
I was going to say, I will say, I think, and a lot of this like sounds really good and should, do it. But I think we've fallen into a weird spot with the AI, and I'm stealing this idea from somebody. I don't remember who. Somebody else said this, but it struck me so hard that, like, I think the thing that really fucked up about AI is that we still have humans driving trucks, but now computers are drawing and making videos for us. The computer should be driving the truck so that we can sit around and draw stuff all day.
Well, some of those trucks and vehicles, I mean, I don't know that that's going down without a hitch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and trucks or inputting data or any of those number of things. It's very weird that as much as I think the best use of AI is to, and just to put biases on the table and put, I've mentioned before, I'm a UBI guy. But I do think it should be doing the things that humans have to do to keep society running so that we can do the things we want to do. And right now, part of that is happening. But so much of it is like, oh, now it's replacing more artists. It's replacing more jobs we want to do with more jobs that people do because they have to do. And I would think, or I would hope, that we would be able to capture an emerging technology like this and be able to use it for us to have more time to do the things that we love.
Yeah. I do agree with that, actually. I didn't think about it like that.
Now that
because this point did not bring up creativity.
Yeah, and that's kind of,
and I don't know that AI is actually cheaper. So the next one is, cost reduction. But then another point on the disadvantage side says cost of implementation and maintenance and teaching. I mean,
right.
I don't know how these are so different. So like the cost reduction, it can work around the clock. Okay. So it can do 3 jobs with 1 bot, I guess, right? If we're going on an 8-hour workday.
Right. Presuming that it works at the same rate that a human does,
True.
It could work theoretically much faster.
True. And tedious tasks frees up workers for high-skilled tasks. Creates more value. Okay. But like over here on the other end of that spectrum, development can be extremely costly. Depending on what exactly you need AI to do, the cost changes.
Right.
So here's a nonsensical statistic. One estimate. Okay, why even put this on paper? Basically, it could cost anything. It says, the cost of a fully implemented AI solution for most businesses range from $20,000 to well into the millions.
Okay.
Is a huge. That is incomprehensible. The difference between 20,000. My hair's falling out.
You know,
I think it's a bug.
At that point, that's basically like saying buying computers for a company can cost anything from $300 to millions of dollars. It's like, I guess,
Not helpful.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
did nothing.
No, yeah, that is so broad as to be useless.
I can't even. So let's just wash that out completely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that price. I don't know when you hit your balance and when it becomes profitable for a business. And I think it probably depends on what it's for.
Right.
What are the functions?
Well, and then, you know, it always comes down to, and that's kind of the hard thing about this list, is the things I'm excited for about AI are things that I hope will help people on a daily basis.
Yeah.
This seems more like a road to get rid of all your employees.
I guess. I mean, I looked at several articles and they all basically made the same point. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, let me just go with the most well-written version.
Which also could be pointing to part of the problem with AI is who they're aiming it at right now.
I guess. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Good point. Like businesses.
Yeah.
Clearly. Like sell a product. You're like, I'm not going to get this shit for my house.
Yeah. But like, that's the kind of AI I am really interested in. Like one of the reasons I've joked about the silly things I've done with the Chat GPT and stuff like that. But also, I've said it on here before. My landlords are a bit overbearing and I do not like them.
Let's kill them. Just kidding.
Go all dead Kennedys.
I feel like I have to say.
Let's live the landlord. But like sometimes I will need to write them a letter, or they will write me something about like, okay, for like this example, we had a broken window in our house that we didn't tell them about because we didn't want the repercussions, right? And so they're like, oh, why didn't you tell us when they found out about it? Why, send us a text like, why didn't you tell us to about this broken window? And I'm not great socially. I didn't really know how to respond to that, but I was able to. I was like, I popped that into the Chat GPT. I was like, this is what my landlord just said to me. I want to say something back to them that is firm and that mentions these facts, but is also polite. And then they wrote something out. And then I was like, that's okay. Like this first part, can we soften that up a bit? And this ending part, can we do that? And actually, you know what? I didn't need that third point I made. And then it wrote me out something else. And, for somebody who is neurodivergent and sometimes has extra difficulty in those areas, that was a lifesaver because it avoided me not saying anything and not getting run over by my landlord. But it also avoided me flipping over to the other end and be like, listen, motherfuckers. But it was able to get that with wording that I just wouldn't have put together. That's not that type of language is not what I am versed in when it comes to language. I am not good at corporate speak. I am not good at legalese. And all of this was not, I wasn't drafting, a motion to compel or anything, but I did want something that was sturdy, and that was a case where it was very much able to help me. And I would hope that we see more of that as this AI technology moves forward.
We get an AI bot to let this dog out next door. I feel sad for it. Like I don't want it to go outside and bark, but the whimpering is worse.
But even to that extent, we've all known people that have had pets that maybe could have been better pet owners. But something, like we do have great things now, like automatic feeders and stuff like that. I know if I need to go away for a couple of days, that my cat can live off of her. We have a little water fountain for her, and an automatic feeder. And so, but like maybe, a dog door that can tell that dog's particular yelp and be like, okay, we can let this dog out right now. Or, send you an alert to your watch. Like, oh, maybe you should let the puppy out. That's, that's the kind of thing that I would love to see implemented to basically give us all, I want, what's her name from the Jetsons?
Judy's the...
Yeah. Anyway, the robot maid from the Jetsons.
Yeah.
I think there's something that goes around from time to time of like, oh, people need work because they need something to fulfill their lives. And it's like, I think that can be true for a lot of people. And that there are things people can pursue, and some of them, hopefully you can get paid for it. That gets it. But I think there's a large number of people that see their job solely as a way to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they're not getting any fulfillment out of what they do. They get a paycheck, which is why they do what they do.
I can't do that.
Yeah, but but also some people, I would say a lot of people aren't as smart as you.
Well, thank you.
But obviously, and I don't even want to say smart, because smart can be measured in different ways. But a lot of people don't have the education that you do. A lot of people don't have the experience that you do. Lots of people come from lots of different backgrounds with lots of different opportunities to those things, and different tolerances for those things.
True. But I would like to say, okay, yeah, now my circumstances are pretty good like that, but that's always been true. I've always had jobs, entry level, whatever, that I get something more than just money out of. It's important to me. Mm-hmm.
And I've had those jobs before too. And I've had jobs that I legitimately just hated. I did not like being at, and I thought the fact that my employer existed made the world a worse place. But I mean, I guess that's kind of my thing is the other day I was folding my laundry, and folding your laundry is a thing that has to be done. It's a chore around the house. But like, man, if I never folded another laundry again, that wouldn't be a detriment to my life. That would make my life just better, because I wouldn't have to do that, and I would have that time to do literally almost anything else that enriched my life. There's nothing enriching I get from folding laundry. It is just a thing I have to do. And that is what I would hope AI could take out of the human experience, is just the things that we have to do so that we can actually put some time on the things we want to do, things that do enrich us, and a lot of times enrich in society,
Yeah. I have to admit, I am distracted by this dog whimpering. It seems to be escalating, and I'm just getting frustrated at the humans there, they're probably not home. I hope that's the case, because if they're just sitting there letting this dog do this, then I got some problems. But I mean, I had a dog.
Then we're going to talk to them humans.
I mean, honestly, I mean, I wouldn't punch him probably, but
I like you threw probably in there.
I mean, I don't know that I know how. I've never tried it. Well, that's not entirely true. On the outside of a mosh pit, that's permission to punch. Thank you. No. But okay, I had a dog when, like, growing up, and I didn't love, like, he was just too much energy. And now I'm like, well, we didn't take him for walks. He was a German short-haired pointer that my dad got somewhere, like, adopted. He just had way more energy than my family had. But he would do that a lot, like the whimpering, and like it would escalate. And like sometimes, like, I didn't like him that much, but I would let him out and stuff because, like,
You're not an asshole.
Yeah,
You're not
I'm not an
cruel?
asshole. I don't want to torture. Like, I don't get anything out of torturing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Except I really want to kill this mosquito. I don't feel like they have feelings. That might not be true, but that helps me kill it.
It sounds like pretty true to me.
Yeah, probably. But the bee movie makes you think.
I skipped the bee movie.
Okay, well, I've seen parts of it. You know, when you work with kids for so long, like, you see a lot of shit like that you never meant to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds like that's decreased. It was like distressing. I'll be honest. I don't love dogs. I don't love suffering. Either.
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you have to love something to not want to see it in pain.
True. Yeah. I wasn't not trying to pay attention. I just, my concern was growing, and you know, the sound just, my brain was like, we're paying attention to this too, you know.
It is hard when a sound is both unpleasant on a physical level, like the sound itself is unpleasant, but also on an emotional level is unpleasant. That kind of doubling up is hard.
It is, but things seem to have satiated over there. So anyway, okay. So we've talked about costly implementation. We're now on the disadvantages side. Lack of emotion and creativity. I think we kind of covered that. I don't think we need to say. Here's the thing I was trying to say. We do need to read this.
Okay.
In this study, hyperlink, can't click it, doesn't work when you print. That's funny to me. I have a lot of inside jokes with myself. That's one of them.
That's anytime, every once in a while, someone will catch me talking to myself. And be like, are you talking to yourself? I'm like, why should I be the only one who doesn't get to do it?
Okay, so in the study that you could look at if this was on the computer, the AI more often assign negative emotions to people of races other than white. This would mean that an AI tasked with making decisions based on this data would give racially biased results that further increase inequality. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I added that last part.
No, and that's absolutely true. And I think there is, you can't, all of these things that the AI is learning from are human systems, and our human systems have been built in unequal ways. That's why white supremacy exists. That's why the patriarchy exists. All of the stuff that we've created reflects those things in some way. And if the AI is going to search that, it's also going to take in those even unconscious biases. Because it's kind of, it's learning from the house that these systematic things built. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I don't love it, but I guess this is because teaching something that is not self-aware, right? Like, there is no distinction there. Okay, well, I don't know. Let's get better technology. Let's wipe this out. I don't know what to say. I just don't like this.
No. It is a problem, and it is something that needs to be dealt with.
Let's just destroy society as it is and rebuild as something better. It's really easy to do, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure nothing will go wrong the second time around.
History tells us anything.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's the problem. Is artificial AI really is striving to be. Its mechanism of learning is learning from us. It is taking all of our knowledge and trying to suss it out, and so that becomes bigger than like any one person. But yeah, it's also pulling in the human garbage. And we're setting those filters in there to try and filter it out. But it is the problem with, anytime you use your term like systematic, sometimes these biases and these prejudices are built into our systems. That means they work without us even thinking about it, which is why if you spend any time in a privileged group, that you need to sit down and kind of try and unprogram those for yourself, or at least be willing to listen when other people are talking about them. But
don't Bill Maher it.
Yeah, I would hope at the very least, at the absolute very least, you could admit that those exists. Mm-hmm. That we didn't magically solve racism when we stopped slavery or even during the civil rights movement. Those things exist. And when AI is coming through, we are working on putting filters in place, but if we're not able to filter them out of our society as a whole, it becomes even harder. They're blind spots to us, or they're blind spots to different people in culture. Mm-hmm. And it becomes, how do you filter out something you're blind to,
Yeah. Get another person to help you edit.
I mean, yeah, there. That's the thing. There are
multifaceted editing.
I guess there are things there, and I do believe people are working towards that, to get these to be as level-headed and to try and find all of those things that are there. But from the few statistics we do have on it so far, the job isn't perfect yet. We'll just say that. It's nowhere close to perfect. And if we start implementing these things, we have to be aware that it may pick faces of color more to associate to bad things than other things.
Yeah. The next one is degradation. So it might break or lose. Power is probably not the right word. I just don't know what the right word is. But maybe lose its saliency, its relevance, because they're not self-aware, so they're not continuing to learn. So you probably have to maintenance that or something, right? I think that's what this means. Okay. I guess there's no stats really on how often and how long it takes to keep something in good repair.
I will say that is something I found odd about the AI training thing that I do, training the chatbots, is different tasks use different chatbots, and depending on which chatbot it's using, it will say things like, this AI doesn't have access to the internet, so don't ask it anything before 2020, or don't ask it anything after 2022. Its knowledge, which, by the way, if you think about it, is kind of insane that it's holding all of this knowledge up till 2022 about the world. And I don't know, maybe these are ones that are in beta and that nobody's using yet.
Or maybe they're old ones. I mean, 2022 is a weird year. I thought you might have said Y2K year.
No. Most of them are pretty within the last couple of years generally. And some of them would be no, you can go all the way up to today. But yeah, they do have different, and again, these are when I'm training them. I haven't come across this to be the case. I can ask about more recent stuff on chatbots that I generally use.
I was trying to come up with the website, and my head said Chatbot City, which is not anything. What?
Well, you don't know. Maybe.
I am so tired. That was nonsense.
This is actually the first time I remember a friend. I'd used the art chatbots. I guess it wouldn't be chatbots. I'd used the art AIs a few times because a friend told me about them, and it was you gotta check these out. These are cool, and they are cool. They're a fun tool to use. And I admit that there's probably there's going to be a lot of legal stuff going forward about copyright and everything like that. But when my friend's oh, you should try the chatbot ones. I use it all the time to help me write emails and stuff like that, and they're just kind of fun. And so I went, and like the first thing I thought of was, oh, hey, let me see how useful of a tool it would be for helping do research for my podcast. That was before we were doing this. And so it was Band Media Podcast. And one episode I've always wanted to do is about a movie called Him. And Him was this gay porno movie about Jesus Christ that came out in the 70s. And it's famous for the fact that there's no prints of it left. So as far as we know, like one theater saw it for a week, but nobody's come out with it or anything like that. So it is a lost film that in certain circles people are looking for. But so I was like, oh, let me see how I asked it. And I guess I asked it. And it was like literally my first time using it. I think my second question to it. And it was like, yeah, we're not really going to talk about porno. That's not what we do. Also, we're not thrilled with the fact you might be, we also don't want to like disparage homosexuality. So they thought I might be being in some way using it in a somewhat bigoted manner. It talks about homosexuality. It talks about queer stuff all the time, but it thought I might be using it to be bigoted. And I was like, I got in trouble. I've only been using it for 2 things.
Huh. Interesting. So you got a slap of the hand, huh?
Yeah. I mean, all it does is tell you I can't answer that. And it's pretty polite about it.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But am more shocked that, okay, I guess back then it was basically just reels, right? Like literal reels of film that held. So there's, I'm just trying to figure out why there's none left.
Yeah, no, because it would have been one collection of reels. And so, it's not like there were multiple prints. I
don't want to see that.
Run in one theater.
It's because I don't want to watch anything. I don't want to watch Jesus fucking in any way. That reminds me of the Children of God cult, and that's all messed up. Anyway.
But yeah, and so I stepped over the bounds pretty quick with ChatGPT. Although I didn't know I couldn't ask anything.
Yeah. So the next point is basically they can't learn. There's no improvement with experience. They don't get better at their job. They just continue to do the same level of work. Yeah,
but I would think it kind of gets better as the technology gets better, right? As you put more information in.
Well, if you buy the $50 million one, maybe. But if you're going for the 20,000 cheapy version, like you get what you pay for. No, I would guess.
I will say that. I will say this: AI is not there yet. When people have the concerns about it taking over the world, it's not there. It still has lots of problems. It still has lots of quirks it's working out. But one of the examples I saw was like. Someone's used AI as like, oh, make a video clip of Will Smith eating spaghetti, right?
I don't want to watch that either.
Okay. But when you watch it, it feels...
No! Just kidding. Okay, I'll let you make your point.
It feels a little uncanny valley. AI, I don't know if you know this, has a hard time with the fact that human beings have 5 fingers. So one of the dead giveaways in AI art is a lot of times humans will have an extra limb or an extra finger. That, like, when you look at it, it's like, oh, yeah, obviously. But it kind of fits in at first. And so, like, the little clip of Will Smith eating spaghetti has lots of little tells like that. But then they're like, this is a picture of what happened when we asked it to do it 2 years ago. And it was just like his body parts were flying all over the place. And so the amount of improvement that's markedly happening in a very quick time leads me to believe that that what they're saying of not capable of progression is incorrect.
Well, that's not what this says, though. Incapable is different than no improvement. Let me just read this paragraph.
Sure.
I'm still trying to think about Will Smith chopped up like that. This analogy or example was very hard for me to track.
All right.
I have no more thoughts about that. I just am confused as to why they just don't understand that. But you're not going to be able to answer that, and I will get no answer. So I'll move on.
I don't know why they have a hard time with fingers specifically.
That all was very funny. I was trying to eat it because I interrupted you too many times in a row. So,
It's okay.
so AI can't naturally learn from its own experience and mistakes, is what that means.
Okay.
Humans do this by nature, trying not to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. I try to do that. I don't. Some people don't. Some people are careless, or they, by choice or not.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, there you go. Oh,
I will
but
say
okay, AlphaGo, developed by Google, taught itself to play Go within 3 days, whatever Go is, and started inventing new strategies that humans hadn't yet thought of. I don't know what Go is, but
I don't either.
good job, bot. Reduce jobs. We kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
Yes, it could take that data entry person's job, but I mean, some other similar may not be the right word, but like jobs shift around in the market. Like I can't imagine people being thrown on the street basically because of this directly, and just the jobs shrink.
Yeah. Well,
to non-existence or something.
I'll put it this way. At the very least, that is not a concern that is exclusive to AI. Almost any new emergent technology, that's a concern for.
Yeah, like machines back in the 18 whatevers.
The 18 whatevers.
When you would send the small child in to fix the dangerous machine because their hands were small.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that from like middle school, and that was really disturbing. But I don't think that's a risk here.
Right.
Okay, so then they're talking about ethical problems. The rapid creation and implementation of AI led to a myriad of ethical questions.
Yeah.
One of the most common are concerns around consumer data privacy. The persistence of data poses many problems for the informed consent of humans to whom the data belongs. Not to mention, since AI is good at recognizing patterns, it can gather data on people without even direct access to personal information. So the question is, how do we protect consumer privacy with the rapid evolution of AI?
Yeah. No, I mean, those are good questions. I think, too, I see the real concern as honestly more like on like political levels of creating something has always been the concern of let's say you were particularly anti-Obama. You could make a fake video of Obama saying some horrible things or doing some horrible things, which I do think is somewhat of a concern. But I think, honestly, more of the concern right now that I get more worried about is people being caught on camera and going, nope, it's AI, fake news. I guarantee you're going to start to see that all over the place of just like, huh? No, I never tweeted that on Twitter. That's clearly, or X. That's clearly an AI generated thing. And you are going to see the AI generated stuff. That's one level of what concerns me on, when it comes to the ethics of AI. I think another one that unfortunately has to be brought up is, especially with the image generation, is what the landscape's going to look like when you can create pornographic images of people without their consent. So for instance, I don't know if there is one out there that does this just yet. But like, our little images were made by feeding a bunch of pictures of us into, and then they made cartoon images of us. But I would say the technology's at the point yet that if you found an AI that didn't, I mean, I don't know this to be absolutely true, but if you found an AI that didn't specifically fight against it, I don't know what would stop you from putting a bunch of images of a human being that you want to see naked, who they don't want you to see naked, and creating fake images, very realistic fake images and fake videos of it. And both for individuals, but also for famous people who would probably be even easier to do because there's tons of images of them to build off of.
I didn't think about that.
And that does become a very scary thing, because as far as I can think of, we're just depending on the goodness of the programmers to make sure they put that stopgap in there, just that stops that from happening, that they program in, if someone asks for this, say no.
Well, I mean, I feel like if we're going there, you know, whatever version of hacker it would be for an AI trainer, who's to say someone nefarious who's very good at computer shit doesn't create something like this and do exactly that? It's probably already happening too.
Oh yeah, and we've seen that. Sadly, we have seen that before. The whole quote unquote revenge porn phenomenon, which is and actually Kamala Harris has a very I think very good take on it. Is revenge porn, what it colloquially means is people that will get mad. Generally, men will be mad about being broken up with, so they will go and post all of the personal photos that, or in videos that the person that broke up with them sent them, which isn't revenge, because that implies that the person who broke up with that person had done something wrong that required, vengeance. Mm-hmm. Nothing was done there. And it isn't pornography, because those persons never took those pictures with the expectation of them being distributed. And she has a much better term for it, and I forget what the term is. So sadly, I'll have to use the old one, revenge porn. But you saw that a lot of people were taking pictures of people they don't like, and this is generally men, taking pictures of people who had rejected them, and then going into Photoshop and finding, bodies of people of a similar body type and photoshopping their face on them to create these things out of nowhere, which is bad and not good. And,
it's bad and not good.
Bad and it's not good.
Shit, that sounds really bad.
Legally they're trying to figure out what that's going to look like. So it does exist to some extent. But also the problem, I think, with AI then is, the plus side of it with other stuff is it democratizes things. But this also democratizes that. It makes it, if a site like that, or if a particular AI like that did or does exist, it would make it very easy to start creating those pictures en masse, which just means it becomes a much, much bigger threat.
Yeah. Well, we'll learn how to deal with that too, though, with I mean, there's a plethora of problems and whatever in the world. So, I mean,
I know I've told you this before, but I just like the way something sounds. And plethora of problems. I like the way that sounds. Okay. Although this is very terrible things we're talking about.
True. Well, before it got off on that, really, not sideways, but like the more negative, I was like, oh, you know what? I actually have used AI on Instagram to turn my cats into That's scenarios. True. Yeah. I saved a few of them on highlights, which I don't think you know or care about. But I turned my Nosferatu into Mommy's Little Monster. I asked AI to put him in as a creature from the Black Lagoon. It's not that, but it's funny. And then
Nosferatu would make a good creature of the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
If you have that picture, I will check it out.
Okay. It's on my Instagram. And then also Mumo, she's got claws. I cannot snip her fucking claws. She's a biter. When she's cornered, and when she's from the street, she's still got the hood in her,
Yeah.
So, anyway, but they're so long, and I have a photo of her where her claws are over something. So I asked AI to turn her into Edward Scissorhands somehow, and so Weird Edward is holding her, and her claws are out. It is just so cute. I saved that one too.
Nice.
So I guess I have used AI,
And they
I
are
was
fun.
pleased by it.
Yeah. And I think that all in all is the hard part is we have so much good stuff coming in with it, from just fun to actually being useful. But there's just a lot of really bad that's going to come in with it too.
Mm-hmm.
And the hard part is if you're asking, should it come in or not, it's the wrong question.
Yeah.
It's too late. That was inevitable. It's happening. How we deal with it, I think, is where we got to go.
Exactly. Like, as I think we said at the top, my stance is, while I'm not like super excited to learn it, I know that I will, and I know that it'll be part of like everyday life basically sooner than later. So I got to get with the program. Stop being so fucking stubborn.
And two, I mean, to what you just said of like, you're like, oh, I forget I did use AI because blah, blah, blah. You may not have to learn it. There could be tons of things in your life operating on AI that you just don't realize are operating on AI as we speak. You know?
I guess that would be preferable because I don't feel motivated to learn it at this juncture.
Right.
But I mean, some of the responses underneath posts. So now AI will generate questions you could ask about whatever post, and they're so stupid sometimes. I'm just like, ugh.
I will say that becomes, and one of the things I think kind of about AI and taking over art, and I'm not saying it's completely useless to think about. I do think that is something we should be keeping an eye on, and that we should have heads towards figuring out what that landscape's going to look like from a legal point of view. But also, like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, you know, there's never going to be human writers again. There's never going to be, to that point, I would say that a lot of
catastrophizing.
Yeah. But like a lot of AI is meant to be non-offensive, which is probably good. But also that's very beige. It is, you know, when it's a room full of people agreeing on something, and you never get that kind of creatively, you're never going to get that uniqueness, I don't think, from AI. If nothing else, you know, AI has to build from what we've put into it, from what we put into the internet and things like that. So I don't think it'll ever get to the uniqueness of a human being. It'll probably take out the technical skill of a lot of different human beings that I can imagine.
Yes, like in that, whatever that is. But then, you know, human laziness is a risk, I guess. But like, wouldn't that just like go into something else? You know, maybe you lose that skill, but you gain a different one. So there's still evolution happening, maybe. I don't know.
I'm a little lost.
Oh, yeah. I don't articulate well.
No. I'm sure you're doing fine. I just...
So, like, okay, if, you know, there's no reason to write anything anymore. Let's say AI gets us to that point. Like, wouldn't the energy put into writing and crafting something from scratch, that effort would most likely, in most cases, be put into something else, right? So, like, yeah, that skill may be lost, the crafting from scratch, but maybe it'll go somewhere else, you know? Unless, I mean, I can't deal with atrophy personally. I mean, sometimes I feel like people are there, and there have been seasons where I've been there too, but it's not a state that I like to be in for most of the time. So I'm just hopefully humanity is you know, wanting more for themselves. And so if that's gone, then okay, then there's all of this energy that can be put into something else that could be super cool.
Yeah. I think I overall agree with that. I guess my point would be I don't think we're going to get to the point where AI fully replaces writing of books on a major scale. I do think, there'll probably be an industry of maybe AI generated books. But I don't think they're going to be on the top 10. I don't think there will be an AI Moby Dick,
No, I agree. Okay.
I've actually never read Moby Dick.
I haven't either. But it's classic, and some people have, a lot of people actually. Can we be all done now? My brain is all
I would
done.
prefer it. We're at 1:45.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for AI. That no more discussions need to be had ever.
You're welcome. We have figured out AI for everybody.
Real smart. All right. Well, if you enjoyed any bit of that, hopefully most of it, please like, rate, subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. A 5-star review would be awesome. And ones with words, better. And if we could, I don't know how to find it, but maybe we could read them if they have words on the 5-star reviews.
Yeah, they'll be up on the
okay
on the thing.
So if you do that, then we'll shout it out.
Also tell a friend. Word of mouth is still the best tool we got right now.
Yeah. If you want to follow us on socials, you can do so on Instagram and TikTok.
And we had our first post.
We did. Yes, we did. And more to come. And thank you for doing it, because it got me out of my task for 1 week. You can find us there at Inner Moxie Pod. You could email us at myinnermoxiepod@gmail.com. That would be fun. Find us on Patreon. Support us. We want to make your show. Well, it might be yours.
Yeah.
We want to make it better.
Yeah.
So that would be super fun and helpful. If you would like to follow me on social, you can do so on Instagram at Zanism, Zannism. I am a religion and a disease.
I am also on the socials, but you can find me most active over on TikTok, although I am starting to use my Instagram a lot now, but at Band Ronnie. Also, you can catch my other podcast, the Band Media Podcast, which I talked about earlier, got me in trouble with AI.
Jesus fucking. Yep.
I'm just so used to that being Jesus fucking Christ.
Nope.
Just Jesus fucking.
That was the content. On that note, stay fresh, cheese bags. Bye.
Later.